Welcome to Inside Aesthetics, the world's leading podcast for injectors and aesthetic businesses. I'm Dr. Jake Sloan, an aesthetic doctor with over 16 years experience in facial aesthetics.
And I'm David Siegel, an entrepreneur and business mentor with over 20 years of experience in our industry. Our podcasts are aimed at industry professionals, and any information or advice given is general in nature. You should consult with a healthcare provider before undergoing any treatment.
You can also subscribe to us on Patreon for on-demand content for injectable and business education.
Hey guys, welcome to Chapter 19 of the Business of Injecting. Got a bit of a different one today. We are partnering with InstantCosmetics for this episode, and we're joined by two of their fantastic clients, Telisa Larken and Jill McIver. Jake, before we jump into this, and obviously we've got Charlie here as well. Sorry, Charlie, didn't mean to leave you off the list there.
Okay.
Before we jump into the discussions, anything we need to talk about? Any news? Anything exciting?
Not really. Today is the last day of our IA competition.
Oh, yes.
We've got until midnight tonight if you're listening to this to apply.
Yep.
So our big competition, we're taking one lucky winner to Canada, to the Canadian Aesthetic Expo. Obviously, we're paying for your flights, your accommodation, your 4-day pass to the conference, including a cadaver course, a business course, and 2 days of lectures and live injecting. Very exciting.
Yeah, and do you want to remind people how to enter? Because there has been a little bit of confusion around that.
Just click the link at the bottom of the podcast. Super easy.
Okay.
And all the information will be in our Instagram post. What we have noticed is lots of people doing the commenting and tagging their friends, but not actually applying to the competition. So make sure you actually read how to apply. But one of the steps is tagging your friends.
All right.
But then you have to go to our website and fill out the form. Otherwise, we don't know who you are.
Good point.
Yes, so please make sure you apply. Now, let's get into this podcast. We haven't done a business of injecting for a while.
Been a while, yeah.
So a fun one to do. We've got two different businesses, two successful registered nurses here in New South Wales. And of course, we're also working with InstantCosmetics to speak about how their infrastructure and software powers a successful business.
Yeah.
So Telisa, we'll start with you just because you're top left of our screen. Did you want to explain to our listeners who you are, your background, and how you got into injecting, first of all?
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Telisa Larken. I have a clinic called the Injectables Queen. I have a couple of them. I have a team behind it. The way I started was I'm actually quite junior in comparison to a lot of you out there. People think I've been in this industry for 20-some years. I have not. My career just excelled quite quickly, which isn't a bad thing. I just think I did the right things at the right time. I have a team behind me. I was an emergency nurse by trade. So I was a mature age student, and I had 2 little babies while I studied full time and a job, and I just got it done. I was passionate about being a nurse, and here we are.
And what was the motivation from leaving emergency medicine to venture into the world of aesthetics?
Look, I actually found aesthetics via nutrients, to be honest. So I was the opposite. So I started working for an IV nutrients company who introduced anti-wrinkle and dermal fillers, and then I just found my passion, and it was basically it from there. Went and worked for a corporate chain, and then ventured off on my own in about 2019.
Okay, so you've been injecting for what, 7, 8 years?
8 years.
Yeah,
okay, great.
It's interesting that you still label yourself as junior, because many people that have been injecting for 1 to 2 years call themselves experts. So it's actually kind of on you and sensible.
Yeah, no, it's true. I am quite junior. I think I've just taken off quite quickly, and my passion and my love for cosmetic medicine is just so huge that it could fill an entire room. I love it so much, from the patient's journey to politics to the business side of it. I love it all.
You love the politics.
I don't love the politics, but I could talk about it for 3 days.
Okay, fair. Now, Jill, tell us about your own background and how you got started.
Hi, so my name's Jill McIver. I have a clinic in Windsor called Defined by Jill. I started in the industry 16 years ago. So I was working in the hospitals and I fell into this. So glad I did. So I was working in the hospitals. I had a phone call from someone to say basically someone was looking for a nurse to inject. And then I started working with a small team. And that was 16 years ago. Worked with them for 4 years. And then after that, it was not until 8 years later I started my business. So I got experience, I got some support, and then went out on my own.
You're obviously from the northeast of England as well. So when did you move to?
Okay, so I moved over so I was working in palliative care in Newcastle, and then I moved over to Australia 18 years ago. I was working in day surgery in Prince Wales Private, and then, I went for Botox from the age, I was 30 when I went for some Botox and went to the nurse, and the nurse was looking very glamorous. I was in my scrubs and I said, I'd love to do what you're doing. And then 6 months later, I got a phone call from that nurse, and then she said she'd been approached to actually work for a company. They couldn't afford her, and she thought of me and then phoned me, and I just was over the moon to get that phone call.
Excellent. Okay, so back to you, Telisa. You were working, as you said, for one of the corporate chains. We don't have to say who it is, but at some point you made the conscious decision that you wanted to go and do something for yourself. So can you just talk to us about that moment? What were the motivations for wanting to go and start your own business, and how did you go about it? Like, how did you plan it? How did you fund it? Just walk us through the process.
As nurses are contracted to these corporate chains, I enjoyed my time there, and I appreciate everything I learned from the corporate chain facilities. And that's where I got all my training, my initial training. And basically, I did a lot. I traveled around for them. I mentored nurses, and still I was in such an infancy in terms of my career, but I was just so passionate. I would read papers. I would pick up a book. I would watch YouTube, and I just was sick of the traveling and everything like that. So I decided I would open up my clinic, and it was on Queen Street in the centre of town here in Newcastle. So thus came the name, the Injectables Queen. And it just blew up. I was very passionate about my social media presence, and I was very passionate about what I did and what I spoke about, and grew a local following. And from there, it just took off. And then we moved into this facility here in Charlestown, a 2-story facility where we do a multitude of things. My main focus was injectables only. I did not know enough about skin to be going in that direction at all. And I was actually my model, instead of being laser focused or called a laser clinic, my model was that we were injectables only. Thankfully, I now have skin, which is definitely a pivotal part of our business now. So that's how it all started, and that's how I got into it, and that's how I found my passion.
One of the issues that a lot of injectors face when they're leaving the chain clinic model, which, as you said, has a lot of positives, a lot of training and guidance and so on, that they take that model and then they essentially just copy and paste it into their own location, and everything remains the same. And so I think some people struggle to get out of that mindset because that's all they've known. Did you take the same approach, or as you said, you already removed the skin component? So how did you have that paradigm shift to go, okay, I'm starting something completely fresh. I'm starting a different journey now, and maybe leaving some of the negative attributes of working within chain clinic, because there are positives and negatives to everything, right?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I didn't leave on a negative note. There was no negativity. However, I did leave within my contractual period. I followed all the steps legally in terms of what was necessary to move forward and open up my own business and my own clinic. What drove me really was my passion for my patients and being able to have full control over their journey and not having to meet certain KPIs and whatnot. So that truly was my passion. There was no negativity, as I said. I still do tell people that sometimes the best way to get in and to learn is to go ahead and join some of those bigger, larger corporate clinics, because that's where you do get most of your foundations of training and you're exposed to a lot, rather than starting with a single person who doesn't have that massive pharma support.
Yeah. What I meant was not negativity around your experiences, more around these chain clinics are high volume. They're seeing lots of patients. Sometimes you might be having to see 15, 20 patients in a day. The consultation process might not be as long. And moving from that sort of high volume environment, which has its place, to a more boutique service. The question was more around, how did you change your mindset to being more of a boutique, maybe taking more time with your patients, not worrying about KPIs? How did you change your mind in that way?
Yeah. So as you said, during consultations and things, I'd have a time limit. I wasn't able to change those time limits. So I wanted it to be a more personable experience for my patients and also have the time that was necessary with them to create the plans that they needed and wanted. And to also, I just had a passion to have my own business. At the end of the day, I just wanted my own business and to see my own patients in my own clinic. And that's what I wanted at the end of the day. That was the end goal the entire time.
Yeah. And how about you, Jill? What prompted you to work for someone to then suddenly open your own practice?
Jake, it was basically overnight. I didn't really think about it much. I loved what I do. I loved my work. And then basically, I don't know, I think that I got a bit, when you feel that you can't go any higher than what you're doing. And then I just thought, okay, if I don't do this, I'm not going to do it. So I just thought I'm going to open my business. What you said there, David, about with working for chain clinics when I felt people were rushed. I didn't want that. I didn't want targets. I wanted to bring nursing into this, because I don't believe in sales. I don't think it's ethical. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to actually bring in some patient care into the industry. So that's what I started off with. And I'm more about repeat client than the sales.
Yeah. And I think that's the question that comes up a lot is, how do I get more patients? How do I make more money for my business? And quite often, as you said, Jill, if you just focus on the patient and taking care of them as best you can and putting them at the forefront of everything that you do, the money will come as a byproduct of those things correctly. And I think where and I was part of the chain clinic model, so was Charlie at some point. Maybe we all learn and grow and move on. But I think that when these large corporate chains get bought, there can be a pressure and the inversion of we're chasing the money and not actually taking care of the patient. First and foremost is where some people run into problems and they feel like they're selling to patients or they feel guilty about talking about prices. And if you just have that mindset of I'm just here to do what's best by the patient, give them my honest feedback, my honest opinion, then the success will come. What do you think, Jake?
I worked with you.
Yes.
I was in that model as well. And that's why I met Charlie as well. Charlie, you gave me my first job at one of the clinics. I remember our interview very well.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, look, one thing I do observe, and you touched on it, David, is that it's not just, I think all injectors care about their patient, but from a business perspective, like you said, there's this copy and paste of product choice, prices, packages, offerings. And I think if you're trying to run a sort of a chain model in your own independent clinic, it's not going to work because you don't have the scale to buy those sort of prices, etc. Yeah. So I think that's what you were getting at.
Yeah, it is. And I think some people struggle with that transition because they just don't know anything else. I think you guys are two great examples of people that have come from that, taken all the positives, learned the skills, got the patient numbers through to get your experience up, and then gone out on your own and gone in a different direction while not disrespecting where you came from in the beginning.
So I basically took 3 months to to open up my own clinic. So therefore it gave me the capability to not do that copy and paste because, as you said, it's not really attainable if you're by yourself and you're a boutique clinic. So I looked into what software programs I was going to use. I built my own website from the ground up. I just worked hard and I was, as I said, super passionate about it. But I did take 3 months off injecting to actually execute this business plan and market it correctly and the most efficiently and the most cost-effective way for being a single person.
Yeah. Let's talk about cost because that's a big part of starting any new business is the bill, having enough money to order your stock, fit out, computer, like there's a lot of money involved. So how did you finance this?
I financed it all on my own. I'm going to be completely honest. Before getting into this world, I had other businesses. So I had a little bit of an idea as to the business structure, only a little bit, although it did still help me. But financing, I financed on my own. I made good financial decisions. I think you need to invest in yourself. And when you find that money coming in, when you open your clinic, you need to really be quite vigilant with what you're spending and what you're investing in. And I think any money in the bank, too much money, is wasted money. I think you need to reinvest it back into your business in the right way, of course, whatever fits your niche or your desires of your clinic.
How about you, Jill? You said your decision was quite quick and there was maybe less planning. So did it go as smoothly?
Not at all.
Any
Not at all. So basically, I didn't realize at the beginning how much it was going to be. I didn't want to get myself in debt. I had a little bit of savings, but I'm all about not getting into debt. I did want to make sure my overheads weren't big. I wanted to sleep at night. And then I did start very small website. It was very basic. I even done the fit out. I even helped myself. My dad came over, helped me. I was rolling up carpets. I had a nosebleed with pressure. It was stress, I did. And it was tough at the beginning. It was really tough. Stock, I was doing week by week. I couldn't afford to go a month ahead. I couldn't afford to do that at the beginning. It was tough. It was tough. But light at the end of the tunnel when you do believe in this, believe in yourself, and you are passionate about what you do, you've just got to believe that.
Yeah. Telisa, in terms of the products and services that you offer, you mentioned at the beginning you chose to do injectables only because that's where you felt your scope of practice was, and maybe be irresponsible for you to do things that you didn't maybe have your head around at that point. How did you choose your initial range of treatments, and how has that sort of progressed over the years?
So basically, the reason why I wanted to do injectables only is it was a marketing plan of mine. I wanted it to be we're an injectables only facility. And I always use we, even though it was just me and maybe my accountants and so on and so forth. I use that sort of Peter Alexander theory on not just focusing everything on myself, but placing myself out there as a bigger business than just myself and getting that attention. And in terms of the dermal filler side of things, that was a part of that marketing strategy. Instead of having a little bit of everything, injectables was my specialty, as I would have said back then. And that's why I chose that path, because there was no one in my vicinity really doing that.
And then you've now progressed on to skin. So when did you decide to bring that in? Is that you brought in other professionals to do that?
Absolutely. So I invested in someone. I didn't just start hiring more clinicians. I invested in someone to come and help me transition into skin. Firstly, I wanted to start learning about it myself. I still am learning. I have a long way to go. And then that's how we introduced skin. And that was about 18 months ago. And it's been a hard journey. I'm not going to lie. It's been super hard because we did focus so much on being an injectables only clinic that skin was just getting my injectors, for an example, to push skin was really hard because they're paid on sales, on profit. It was super hard. It was much harder than what I thought. And we were super quiet in the beginning with skin. And it hasn't really been until now that it's picked up a lot.
How about you, Jill? Do you have the same sort of skill set as Telisa? Were you just doing injectables when you started? What services do your clinic offer that has maybe evolved over time?
Yes, Jake. So at the beginning, we were just about injectables, what I know and what we know. So we were all about that. It wasn't until around 3 years later we brought skin in. We do have a skin therapist that is fabulous. She knows a lot. I'm not too, and I'll put my hands up. I use the product. I don't know much about it. And then recently, about a year ago, we have one device. I'm not big on devices either. I just know a lot about the dermal fillers and the injectable side. And I will be honest about that. So I always think once you start bringing too much in as well, that's where you can lose the ball. So I'm all about keeping what we know and not going too big.
What device did you invest in, and what sort of planning or business modeling behind the scenes did you do before you committed to buying that?
Yeah. So it took realistically about 6 to 7 months for me to do my homework. There was 2 that I wanted and I didn't know, and it was completely different. And it was like a whirlwind for me because I didn't know much about it. The one that I went with was Ultraformer MPT. And the reason why I went with that device was because it had a sister who'd already been out before. So it already had that history of being successful. So it was just, that's why I went to that device, over the other one. We still might bring another device in, but at the moment we've only got the one.
Okay, so that's a HIFU device for people would say skin tightening or skin thickening for collagen sort of formation. So how have you incorporated that with injectables running parallel? Who is operating that? Is that your skin therapist?
It is, and also my other nurse. So my nurse, she loves it. She loves it. I do that sometimes. But yeah, I'm not huge on devices, and I'll be honest with you. We had to bring it in because people were asking for that, and we have to keep up with the times. If it was my way, I probably wouldn't have bought a device in, but we do have to offer that. We do have to keep up with everyone else.
Do you have any products or treatments that you deliberately don't offer, or treatment areas that you don't do?
Yeah, guys, this was super hard to decide for me. Whatever I do, I have to do it times 2. So if I invest in something, it has to be times 2. If we offer something at one clinic, we have to offer it at another. Okay. So for me, it was a super hard decision to make, and I really relied on my skin specialist, who was an educator as well, and who'd helped corporate businesses and things like that to help guide me in the right direction according to our geographics and things like that. So I really tried to invest, and I thought investing well on the right machines, which my first was Tixel, and then I brought in laser, I brought in hydrofacial. Laser's just been new, by the way. We've just got that. We're still training. We want to stay away from hair removal. I think we just can't compete. We just can't compete with those bigger chains. And also, we don't really want to do that. We want to stick with what we know, and we want to stick with what's within our scope and what our patients want and need.
Yeah. Why did you choose Tixel?
Because I was told that was going to be the best device for my business. That's why I chose it. Again, I was super junior, so relying on others to help me. And of course, I had several meetings with several companies out there and distributors. And I had already developed relationships with the distributors and reps out there already. So my decision was really hard. If I could go back in time, although we still use the Tixel and we like it, I probably should have spent the extra money and went straight to the laser machines.
I think your advice has always been try and find something that's universally applicable. So a laser, which is multifunction, is probably useful.
Yes, and to take one step further back from that is, what are your indications? Who are your patients? What's your demographic? What are they coming in for? What are they presenting themselves with? And then, as you said, finding the device that's going to allow you to do the 80-20 rule. Find a device that's going to treat 80% of the indications that come into your clinic. So Newcastle, assuming a lot of people, white people with a lot of skin damage. So you're going to be doing pigment, vascular, generalized redness, maybe a bit of texture. That's probably going to treat 80% of the people that come into your clinic. Would that be accurate?
That's 100% accurate. I went back, I would have gone back and invested in a laser machine for sure. But money is money. Yeah. I mean, it's tight at the moment, and it's always been tight. Yeah. That was a massive factor as well, because you can go from buying a $10,000 machine, Tixel was not $10,000, it was still quite an expense, to buying a $200,000 laser machine. Yeah. As I said, times 2. But I think you get what you pay for, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from those mistakes as well over the years in every way. We do have our very first introduction was a skin line. So we had a skincare line that we introduced into the clinic, and that was before we got our dermal therapists, because we needed it. So that was years and years ago. We introduced at least a skincare line because we didn't have that, and people were asking for that. And now we've got our own branded skincare line.
Yeah. Might just jump in with a bit of general advice on devices, because we're talking about it. So I get asked this question a lot from people in Australia but abroad. Yeah, so start with the indications, work out what treatments you want to offer based on your patient demographic and what people are coming in and asking for and presenting with. Do your research and narrow it down to the devices that you think would be in your shortlist. I think we're pretty lucky in Australia. We've got a fairly regulated industry. I think there's a lot of great devices that we have. I think a lot of the major brands all have great technology. Of course, each of them are going to tell you theirs is the best. They've got some new bit of technology that the other doesn't have. They all say that. To me, once you've found a good device, and if you're really dealing with a reputable company, that should be fairly easy to do. You then need to look beyond that, which is who's the company I'm purchasing this for? What service are they going to be able to offer me? Am I going to do some homework on what's this company like to deal with? So I wouldn't just go by the names and numbers the company gives you. Do a Google search, find out what other places have this device called. Do it outside of your local area so they never feel like you're going to be a threat. Call someone in a different state if you have to. What's the company like to work with? What happens when something breaks on the machine? How quickly do they fix it?
Absolutely.
Consumables is a big one as well. So when you start factoring in, is this going to be a financially sensible decision for me? What do the consumables do to the profitability of my business? What happens when the device gets superseded? Do I have an option to upgrade? If I get rid of it, how do I sell it? A lot of people are being caught out with things like recertification fees, which can bite people on the backside as well. And then doing some forecasting. How am I going to finance this? How much is it going to cost me whether I fund it myself, whether I borrow money from the bank or directly from a finance company? What's the interest rate? What's the best way to finance it? How much is it going to cost me to make those repayments on a weekly, monthly basis? Factoring that into your weekly break-even point, and then actually putting a plan together and knowing where that red line is every week so that you know what that device needs to return to you to be successful. The amount of people who get sweet talked by a very charismatic rep who tell them they're going to become millionaires when they buy this device, and that device ends up being an expensive paperweight because they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. The company has let them down. Their staff aren't invested in it as well. So that's the other big thing. You need to get staff excited about it, especially if you're not driving the device. So you really need to make sure your team feels part of the decision in some way and you've got their buy-in. Anyway, just a little side journey there, just a bit of advice. Sorry, Jay. And
to cherry on the top, just join our Patreon because we've got a group of about 300 or 400 people all sharing this information. I was going to wheel back. We said to Lisa, you got 2 clinics. So when and why did you scale? And I guess tell us, how many staff are you running? What does your clinic look like? How many rooms do you have? Just paint a picture for people who can't.
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Why? I don't know.
Why would you do that to yourself? Yeah.
I'm still asking myself that question. Okay. So I decided to go and open a clinic on the Central Coast. We have about near on 30 staff now.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a management team. I've really just upped my game, and I've invested in what I need. I've outsourced where I've needed to outsource. And I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said, when you invest in these things, you really need to know what you're going to get back from what you invest in. If you're going to invest in something, you're going to have to know, you're going to have to make sure that your team is getting served, not just the device is getting serviced, but that the team is getting serviced, and the training and everything they need in order to actually love that device and then learn from it and sell it. The reason why I opened up a new clinic on the Central Coast was because I thought it was just time. It was just time. And look, what can I say? That was tough. We also, like Jill, we built out our own clinics. The one here in Charlestown is just outside a major retailer, a major store. So it's got 5 injectables or laser clinics in there. And then within the 5-kilometre radius, I've probably got about 20 to 30 other clinics. Newcastle's a big city. So we have a lot of clients, and the why behind opening up a new clinic was just that. Okay, that's what I wanted to do initially. Again, that's changed, but initially I wanted to just keep growing and growing more clinics. But we've figured it out a little bit more now. It's taken us years. We've done our own fit outs. Like now we've gone from the Charlestown store being just a single level to being a double level. We took over the whole top floor. So our clinic here in Charlestown is huge. I don't even know how many rooms it has, but it's massive. And we've gone from a little tiny baby staff room where we all had to cram in there, and we had a 1 metre by 30 centimetre little table that we had to all share and side swipe each other, to having an actual real live dining table and staff room and TV and coffee machine and all the perks here in Charlestown, which Erina has, which we were jealous of at first. So we actually expanded to Erina before we expanded this clinic in Charlestown.
So Erina is Central Coast, correct?
Yeah,
Erina is the
south of
Central
that,
Coast.
now it's sort of north of that.
Yeah.
God,
That
so
is very
Two-
vast.
2 clinics and 30 staff. Let's see, we've got the same haircut in 5 years, Telisa.
Hey, look, I'm all about bioregenerative medicine, so I'm going to save myself right now.
If I can ask you, it sounds like an obvious question, but you said, I just wanted to expand. Why?
She likes pain.
Yeah. No, but like, joking aside, and this in the nicest way, is it just not an ego thing, but you just thought, I'll just get more and more money by opening more and more clinics? Is it just as simple as that?
I'm going to be honest. I think I was 2 years deep of injecting full time, and I started to go to all these conferences and I started to get to know people. And then all of a sudden I became a speaker. And so I had a tremendous amount of followers and nurses who are asking me questions, and I helped other nurses within the Newcastle region expand their clinics as well. And I was like, oh, I'm actually not too bad at this business advice thing. Still learning about that, to be honest. I still have to outsource because I'm not the best at it. And I think it was really just, I got caught in that growth factor of my life. And I was like, I need to do that so that people can see that I'm growing personally and that I'm also growing my clinics as well. And look, sometimes, I'm going to be completely honest, sometimes I wish I was back in that little tiny room in Cook's Hill, where it was just me and my bookkeeper of a Tuesday, and because it's been tough, but we've got a really good team now and we've got things flowing pretty decently. It's a tough time right now, but we're navigating it.
Yeah. And how about your clinic's evolution, Jill? Are you still in one location? How many staff do you have? Or has it grown?
Okay, so I'm the opposite to Telisa. So I know you understand, Telisa, where you're coming from. I don't think it's about the money. I think it's an addiction. So when you start growing, you do want to actually open up another clinic. You do. And I was going to do that 4 years ago. What held me back was balance. So I knew that I was working too much, and I was actually not resenting work, but I was resenting not going to the gym, not doing these things that I love to do as well. And that's why I didn't open another business. I still contemplate this. I still do. At the moment, we've got one clinic. It's in Windsor. There's 4 of us, and we are so happy. We've got a really good team. Yeah, so there's only 4 of us, and well done, Telisa. You're doing amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And so are you. And that's why we're here.
So Jill, tell us about where your first cohort of patients came from. That's what a lot of new businesses struggle with. Obviously, you were injecting somewhere else, and I assume, even though you did the right thing and didn't solicit patients, I'm assuming a number of them followed you. But how did you generate that initial momentum that you needed to get your business growing?
At the beginning, David, I wasn't flash with marketing or anything like that. And I didn't have patients following me at the beginning, because what I done when I left, I've got a lot of respect for who I worked for. So I didn't tell anyone where I was going. And I actually made sure where I was going next, it was away from all businesses. So it was just starting off on my own. Word of mouth, making sure the brand, what I believed in, it was a patient journey, and it was all word of mouth that we got. And it was slow. It was very slow. And I made sure I was there from 10 o'clock till 6 o'clock at night in case I had a walk in. Never did I have a walk in at the beginning, but I was just hoping and praying. And eventually it was slow at the beginning, and it was all word of mouth that made us grow.
How slow?
It was slow at the beginning. I would probably say, I made a target for myself to see. I know this sounds really low, but I just didn't want to disappoint myself. So it was 1 to 2 people a day, like 2 patients a day. And then I'd get really excited if I'd get to see 3 patients, and then it would go back to 0. So it was all a journey. It was all up and down. I think it was probably year 2 where I started getting that steady repeat of business and getting that friendship and rapport with patients as well.
How were you paying your bills when you only had 2 patients a day?
Do you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. So
This is what people
I
want to
actually,
know. Yeah.
okay, so this is how tough it was. My dad came over from the UK, and anyway, I'd had someone travel to see me. It was about an hour they'd travelled. And anyway, I booked in for anti-wrinkle, and I had anti-wrinkle in the fridge. And then they turned around and said, "Oh, we've came here for dermal filler." And I had no dermal filler because the courier hadn't delivered till that day. So anyway, I had to send them for a coffee, and I gave them some money to go for a coffee, and I was apologetic. And this was when I had a laptop. I didn't even have a computer at the beginning. And yeah, so that day I went back home and I told my dad, I said, "I'm so embarrassed. This has happened." And he said, "You know what? It's like a child going into a sweet shop and no sweets being there. You can't be doing that. You've got to have stock there." So I was lucky enough where my dad could lend me some money. But at the beginning, it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there. I remember years ago in the UK when I was running my own little, looks ridiculous now, but my own little business. And I've been in the same position. You had 2 vials of tox and 1 filler, and that's all you have. You just can't afford the stock. So I think we've all been there. So you shouldn't feel ashamed. How about you, Telisa? Stock costs money, and people cost money. And if you've got, say, a dermal therapist and they're not yet up and running, you've still got to pay that person despite not having bums on seats. So how do you reconcile that early start of a business?
Look, I'm going to be honest. As I said, I had 3 months to plan this. And so I was just really hammering myself out there. I was marketing. I had billboards up. I was really like, "Here's Telisa." Because that's what I had. This is the Injectables queen. I had to plant my face everywhere. I didn't want my face everywhere, but I got the advice that was the best thing to do. So I did have a friend who was in media, and she said, "Telisa, this is what you've got to do. You really got to, people want to come and see you and they want to come and see your face. So you're going to have to start putting it out there and learning how to be in front of a camera and talking and things like in camera, as in for Instagram, for an example, and having my face out there on billboards." I was like, "What? Absolutely not. I'm not going to have my photo plastered all over Newcastle. No, thanks." But it worked. So they were like, used to have mums coming in with their kids and being like, "Oh my God, she's famous," because her face was on a little billboard. Anyway, yeah, so I had a waiting list to start because I was growing my clinic. Like I invested in marketing. Okay. So I really did do that so that when I opened the clinic, I would be busy. And that's basically, my books were open and people were starting to book in with me. And so I wasn't sitting there for 8 hours in a day with, no offense, Jill, but with 2 or 3 patients. And sometimes, look, it wasn't all rose. Sometimes I did only have 2 or 3 patients. But yeah, I think the fact that I invested in marketing was definitely a plus for me. And I used to have a streak of doing a story, and I think I still do to this day. I'm never not active on social media. I always have something on either my stories or what have you. And I brought my personal life into it a little bit because people do want to know what you're doing. They want to know what you're up to and they want to get to know you. So I shied away from that at first, but then I took it and I ran with it. And thank God I did, because I can't post my work anymore. And you'll go to my page, you won't see a single thing about what I've done. But I do other things now, not just the Injectables queen. I've done a multitude of other things, and I've lost and I've gained, and it's been a crazy journey.
Yeah. Okay, so Jill and Telisa, you're both supported by InstantCosmetics. Obviously, you need a scripting service or a telehealth scripting service here in Australia to allow you to operate independently. Telisa, you've been with InstantCosmetics for some time. Jill, you're fairly new. Can you just walk us through why you've made the decision to come across with InstantCosmetics and I guess how they support you in your business?
I'm with an independent doctor, and also I'd heard about how good and professional they are, and also the support they give us, also the times that they're open. So it's always good for backup. So that's why I've came from recommendation and also advice of other people, friends who have been there, and they just talk so highly of them.
Yeah, so you're running sort of a hybrid model where sometimes you have your own independent doctor to script for you, and other times you can utilize the service of InstantCosmetics when they're not available, or you might want access to, I don't know, different stock or training. Is that correct?
That's correct, Jake, yes.
Great. So how long have you been with the team for InstantCosmetics, and how does it work on a day-to-day basis? So do they have software that you can utilize? How do you script? How do you telehealth? How do you do all of that?
Yes, so this software is very good to use, and also the hours as well. The hours are great for me as well, because when I open up early on a Saturday, that's what I can. Some doctors want to start later, where they are open there from 8 a.m. The ordering's really good to use as well, so that's really easy to use. So that's really an advantage.
Okay, and if I can maybe ask I don't know if you can answer this or not. Does it help with the pricing by having access to a larger company's buying power and maybe choice of stock? Has that been part of your decision to join InstantCosmetics?
It has been, yes.
Okay. No more information, just yes. Okay, cool. What about you, Lisa? As I understand it, you've also got some doctors as part of your clinic or clinics. So do you run a similar hybrid model, but you also utilize InstantCosmetics?
Correct, yes. So I use InstantCosmetics because it's so much easier for my team of injectors to be able to have access to the doctors when they need to, and also when I'm not here. And I don't have to oversight what they're doing, because InstantCosmetics gives that to us, and the doctors are available. The platform is really good. At the moment, we do use InstantCosmetics to buy, but I also do have, which does make it a lot easier and a lot more affordable. And it's just easy. I don't have to worry about what's happening behind the scenes. It's just an easy transition. I can go away. For an example, I was just in New Zealand at a conference speaking and educating, and I didn't have to worry. And InstantCosmetics is a part of that. Didn't have to worry about the scripting side of things or anything like that. It's all taken care of. And their portal is very informative, very educational. Often, if they ask me a question, I'll be like, guys, just jump online and go for a scroll on InstantCosmetics and you'll get your answer.
How does it work with clinical notes? Do you use your own system, and then do you have to write anything on the InstantCosmetics side through scripting? How does that work?
Yeah, so with that, I actually have 3 forms of notes, because notes are important. So I have a hard copy. I also have, which a lot of my staff do not like to do, but I love to put, I have a face chart, and I like to mark the chart almost exactly according to where I've injected and why I've injected it. A treatment plan, which is on a little bit of paper, I like to mark exactly what I've done and where, as opposed to just writing it. And then we have our in-house software service, which is also our POS. It's an all-in-one type of program. And we put our formal notes in that. And then we also, during our consultations, will add notes that are appropriate for doctors, or that we might feel the doctors need to know, and not just things like, oh, they live here and whatever else. Because we do include absolutely everything on our notes. She doesn't like potatoes or whatever, or she's going on a holiday in 2 weeks. So we can ask them the question, how was your holiday? We use different platforms. We use InstantScripts for different reasons, and we use our own software programming to our own hard copy A4 treatment plans.
Okay. How about you, Joe? Are you still on Victorian paper, writing with a quill pen?
I actually do too. I love to. We do the same. And then also we're big on our notes, huge on our notes. And exactly what you said as well, Telisa, about what they're doing in the personal life. We add that into our notes, as well as what dosage we've used. But yes, I'm fairly new with the software side. So I'm just using my software at the moment, and we do use paper as well.
Okay. So Telisa, with all the drama with regulations at the moment, and obviously the nurses under the pump in Queensland, is being part of a service like InstantCosmetics, I guess, giving you a bit of confidence? Because whilst things haven't changed here yet, presumably you've got an eye on what's going on, and you would know that there is a solution potentially, if you needed it here in New South Wales, to I guess, sustain your clinic. Because if you're in Queensland right now as a nurse, you might be wondering if I have to give up.
Yeah, absolutely. I do speak to a lot of nurses in Queensland, and I think it's great that Instant Cosmetics is rolling something out that's going to be useful, because I think even here in New South Wales, we need to be able to pre-plan for what may be coming. But Instant Cosmetics can provide that to us, and we can feel safe or safer. I'm not sure if any of us are going to feel the safest anytime soon, but as long as it makes us feel more safe with our compliance and making sure we're doing the right thing by using the right prescribing company, then the future of our cosmetic careers hopefully going to be as bleak as what Queensland's has been.
Yeah. How about you, Joe? Anything to add to that? One thing that I would assume is that you've now got two teams of potential legal advice. You've got Instant Cosmetics with their own team doing their due diligence to work out what's the best solution and way forward. And maybe you've got your own legal advice. So at least you've got two sources of reference rather than just being independent on your own and hoping for the best.
That's correct, yes. So you've hit the nail on the head. It is two different sources. It is scary out there. Try not to think about it. But yeah, it's just... all of us have worked hard to do what we're doing. We love what we do, and we just want to have that support as well. So whatever does happen, there is that backup, and we're looking at different legal options to make us be able to work.
Yeah. Telisa, I know you did the hybrid model, but there are other scripting services out there in the marketplace. Why did you choose Instant Cosmetics over the other options? Was there something that was just a deal breaker for you?
I just like that they would be able to be consistently available for my team. And also, the hours, as you said, Jill, I think the hours are really important. We might run overtime and might run up into 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we're still injecting, and we need someone to be there for us and to have that. And especially if I'm not in the clinic, then we always need that person or those people to go to, and Instant Cosmetics are there to do that. So again, it's something that I don't have to worry about, and it just happens on its own, which is really important, because time is money and money is time.
Yeah. Going back to your choice of product, maybe personally or for your team, Telisa, because you're running a big team of injectors, how have you made the business decision to commit to particular brands? Is it purely what you want and money doesn't become part of that discussion? Or is it because you've got access to good pricing, presumably through Instant Cosmetics, that maybe you've had to adapt your business plan and what you stock as a result of that?
Look, I have different models, and I have different brands that we use. Our injectors, there's a small group of them. I think there's about 6 of us who I've managed to retain since day one. And between the lot of us, we have a wealth of knowledge in terms of training and product usage. I actually love to see when our team of injectors look back. We have a drug room here in our facility, super compliant, a drug room, and we know who's going in. It's camera, safes, everything. Anyhow, I like seeing when my injectors, not that I'm looking at the cameras, I'm in the room, I'm not spying on them, but when they open the cupboards and they're just looking in their cupboard and they're like, okay, and they're assessing, I can see them, and they're assessing their patients and they're assessing what product they're using. Now, I've had private deals with the companies directly, and then I'm rolling more over into Instant Cosmetics now, because quite truthfully, I've just lost one of the biggest suppliers that I had. So now we have to look into other avenues, and Instant Cosmetics has always been there to be able to just help us through that journey and be like, hey, Telisa, is there anything we can do for you? What can we offer you to help you facilitate moving forward with buying the product that you need?
Yeah. What about you, Joe? Because you're more of an independent injector. Presumably, cost is an even bigger question for you, because you've got to sustain just one injector and you're going to choose what you like rather than serving a team of injectors. So how have you made your decision on what products you want, and how's that been helped with Instant Cosmetics?
Yes, Jake, we do a lot of injectables. So we actually have got a deal with independently a brand who we use.
Okay, great. And what about training as well? Because new toxins come, new fillers come, new exosomes and whatever else is on the market. So you get access to better training opportunities, maybe working with Instant Cosmetics, Jill?
Yes, it's there. The actual support is there. Yeah, that is good. Yeah. It's very good.
Some of the feedback from independent injectors, David, you can speak to this, is if you're not buying huge amounts, you just get left out. You're not included because you're not a big spender. But presumably working with Instant Cosmetics, those doors are open.
Yeah, totally. When it comes to choosing what stock you're going to purchase, obviously what's going to be best by your patient should be the first decision that you want to make. For me, looking at things from a business perspective, I'm always talking to my clients around what does this product do to your margins, your business. And it's something that people are starting to look at now, is when they're making decisions on what they're going to stock in their clinics around financially, what does this do, and having a look at things like your margins. Is that something that you, Telisa, have started to look at? Maybe you've always looked at it. Can you get some insights into that? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. When I was an independent injector, I didn't really have the financial sense that was required to make those decisions. I just went with the pharma companies, and I wasn't with Instant Cosmetics back then. I just went with the pharma companies who would offer me the best deals and things like that. Now I know there's so much more importance into not just the pricing, and pricing is a factor. Let's not beat around the bush. We have to have good pricing. I invested in having an in-house bookkeeper. Now she has the upper hand on what I should and shouldn't be spending. So I have to ask, can we afford this? Because it's definitely something that I've had to do, because we like using a range of products, but also at the same time, we've learned from that being too broad. We've ran out of, the products have expired if we've bought in bulk before. So we've made a lot of mistakes along the way as well. So we've bought in bulk because we would save money, and then our products would end up sitting on the shelf and expiring. I think our biggest loss, we had about, I won't name the product itself, but probably about 60 mils of filler.
Oh.
Ran out of just sitting in the cupboard, and just completely ran out of expiration date. And during this time, I was busy doing other business ventures to actually know that was happening. So from that, I've implemented a rotating structure, which should always be in your clinic anyway, as in rotating stock. So yeah, it's been a long and hard journey, and I'm still learning. But yeah, I think it's really hard because we have so many choices now. There's just so many choices. So when you're jumping on webinars with Instant Cosmetics and things like that, it can make it easier for you to be able to know what products or what you're going to facilitate and use in your clinic.
Yeah, talking about wasted stock, I'm sure every clinic's sort of been through that. Maybe not 60 mils, that's a bit of a disaster, but it happens. And now we're in a phase where HA use has certainly dropped around the globe, 30, 40% in some cases. So what are you actually using in your clinics? If it's not as much HA as it used to be, what are you doing to broaden your patient's choice, Jill? Maybe we'll start with you and then we'll go to Telisa.
Jake, we have had a reduction in dermal fillers in the clinic, but not too much, to be honest. Our patients are probably in the 50s, 60s. So they are actually, when the numbers have decreased, but the people that are coming in are still wanting to look after themselves. We are still, toxins is number one. Dermal fillers, yes. We do use the bioremodeling for the skin, but the devices aren't as big as the dermal fillers and Botox. But yeah, we've never been in the situation, lucky enough, where we've bought in bulk and expiry date. We haven't had that. I'm always on the floor and I know exactly how much we need. We're always one step ahead where we have got product in the fridge and the cupboards.
Right, okay. And Telisa, we've got exosomes, Reduran, bioremodelers, lipo lifters just about to relaunch. So lots of choice. And to be honest, I think, forget patients getting confused. I think injectors are getting confused.
Absolutely.
What's changed in your clinic in the last, say, 18 months?
Look, I actually spoke about this on a panel just in New Zealand. And basically, it is a hard decision. They're hard decisions to make. And for me, having a team of injectors, it's not just my decision. The injectors need to be interested in what we're introducing into the clinic also, because if it's something that injectors can only get their hands on, then my team has to be wanting to do that as well. Otherwise, we do have to worry about the expiry dates of products and things like that. I have had people say, yes, Tilly's, we want this product. We really want it. And I've had to sit back from lessons that I've learned in the past and be like, yeah, but why do you want this product? Tell me why. It's usually because Instagram's telling them they want it. So I tend to shy away from trends now. I didn't used to, but I tend to shy away from what's trending. And I'm a watcher and waiter now. So I feel like that's definitely beneficial. And also keeping on top of, again, those webinars from InstantCosmetics where they'll give you more information and on the products rather than just jumping straight on the bandwagon of this exciting new exosome or this exciting new product that's being released into our world, because it is a lot. Injectables has dropped off a little bit for us. It's picking back up now. We did have a massive decline over the Christmas period. I think that was all about how our economy is at the moment. But we're getting better at our product usage and what to choose. I still haven't got into the world of exosomes. I'm learning about it. As I said, I watch and wait. I need to know about it much more. I need to learn about it. I need to be educated before I actually introduce it, because when I'm not in the clinic, and I don't inject 5-6 days a week anymore. I'm not here all the time. So I have to be very careful and plan and pick what I'm going to introduce into the clinic and make sure that it's going to A, fit our patient demographic, and B, most certainly have the injectors and or dermal therapists be interested in that too.
Yeah. When I look at profit and loss statements, and I don't know how many hundreds I've looked at over the years, 70 to 80% of everyone's revenue is anti-wrinkle. And so you've got all these new products that are coming onto the market, and I don't think there's any need to rush into it. I think it's always good to sit and wait. Being an early adopter is cool. Maybe when it comes to iPhones and things like that, when it comes to new treatments, maybe it is more intelligent to just approach with caution and make sure that it's the right decision for your business. Both of you have expanded your clinic and clinics over the years, and obviously you need to hire people to do that. And that's a whole other sort of challenge. How do you find the right person? How do you onboard them, train them? And then how do you keep them? Because if you've got someone that's good, it's only a matter of time before they decide they want to do their own thing like you guys did, or someone else poaches them. So Jill, do you want to maybe talk to us about your recruitment strategy? Like, when do you know it's time to bring on someone new?
By in the clinic how much you can do yourself, and you don't want to be stretching yourself, and to be patient focused. And if you're doing too much, you need help. With recruiting, I've only had to once advertise. I've always done this word of mouth because I feel that you know who you're aligned to. And then also with training, I'm always hands-on. So it's just being around and just making sure everyone is happy at work. I'm not about micromanaging. I don't think that would not work for me. And I don't like to do that in the actual workplace where we are. So we're all a team. We all help each other. There's no hierarchies or anything like that. And that's the way that I want the team to be always. Yeah, so that's what we focus on. And it's really been word of mouth. Like, that's how I've recruited. I've seen someone, I knew they'd be a good fit. And that's how we've worked.
Telisa, I saw your body language when David asked about people potentially being recruited by you and then leaving. Have you had any good stories to tell us?
I have plenty of stories. Do you have 3 days? No, I've basically, I've been through the ringer in terms of employees. Injectors, not so much. The injectors have been quite stable, and people ask me, how do you manage to retain your injectors? Well, I pay them well, and they deserve what they get. We send them to training and things like that, and we have really good Christmas parties. Anyway.
Wait for our invitation. Yeah,
exactly. Basically, going back to the employing side of things, it's been a hard road. We've had employees that have not been so great, and we've really tried to in-house help them, but we just couldn't. We had to externally outsource HR because we grew too much. And my operations manager, who only works ad hoc hours from home usually, she just couldn't, that wasn't her niche, that wasn't her area, HR. So we had to outsource that. And in terms of wasting money on trying to find the right people, I wish, Jill, I could just have that word of mouth in like the community. But my Erina clinic particularly, I find it really hard to retain staff there. And I'm just going to be purely openly honest about that. I don't like to poach as such, but in saying that, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But I have tunnel vision. We do put ads out there. Sometimes we use Instagram. Then we went off Instagram because we were like, I don't know whether we were attracting the right people. So then we went to HR, and HR then implemented other ideas or other avenues of how to employ the right people.
You touched on it earlier, but we didn't dig into it. The advertising, marketing, Instagram, socials, that's still where most injectors are focusing their energy. But of course, there's various guardrails about what we can and can't do legally now. So you said you're on billboards and all sorts of stuff a few years ago, but what are you doing now that is obviously compliant, but that you're still finding resonates with your patients, Telisa?
Still have those billboards at that same place. They're still going strong. And I think you need a multi-module approach when it comes to marketing, especially now that we're so restricted. It turns out plastering your face on billboards and the sides of buses turns out to be pretty okay. It's gone from just my face to a whole team, which I'm very thankful for. So, yeah, we jump on the radio as well. We have to invest in the marketing. And I've learned from my mistakes that I've made in terms of marketing, but I've also learned what works well for us. I think there's so many variabilities in what works for whom and wherever they are. For us, the bus has just been great. The buses, I should say. So it's not just my face, thank God, splattered on the side of a bus. It's also the other injectors and or team. Again, we're all equal here. We're all a big equal team. And yeah, I think still staying on top of your social media is important, but just being smart about it. Be smart about what you post and how you post it. And for me, it's about staying in contact as well with InstantCosmetics and just having someone there to ask the question, should I be posting this? If so, how can I? Again, I don't post any of my work anymore. I can't. I just don't. I have my own patients now. But for my other injectors, they have to be really articulate and meticulous in the way they do things. We don't want to be just one of those clinics that, no offense to these clinics, I find these reels really funny, that just dance around and laugh all the time. That's not, we're supposed to be a medical practice. We're supposed to be professionals. So it's all well and good to have a little bit of fun here and there. But at the same time, I think we need to find a way to be more proficient in telling everyone that we are actually medical professionals without losing our social media presence. And that's really hard, and we're still navigating that.
So what is the strategy? Is it education now?
Look, for us, it's been a tough one, and we're focusing more on skin. We do have quite a number of injectables, or you said before 80-20 is I think 80% of anti-wrinkle. For us, it's not so much, the numbers aren't 80, maybe 70-30, because what has happened is, and this is a mistake that I've made, because I didn't offer skin when we got really busy, our patient cohort that wanted those vascular treatments and those pigment treatments were going elsewhere. So now we just have to be vigilant and just let them know that we now offer that, and that's all under the one house and the one roof. And we do that by email marketing as well. So email campaigns. But again, that's all a part of the program that we've invested in as well.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to add anything to that, Jill, in terms of what you guys do?
We've just started investing in SEO again. So we we dropped out of that and then got back into that. We've also we're a bit different to a lot of businesses out there. So we're in a community. We advertise in the newspapers because a lot of people still read the newspapers where we are. Also, what we do is I used to be a palliative care nurse, and there's a charity in the Hawkesbury that is really close to a lot of our hearts. So we've just supported for a year the actual counselling for palliative care or anyone who's going into remission, and they're actually supporting us. They're advertising us as well as we advertise them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just with the Instagram, we're not huge on that. It's still active, but yeah, not a huge amount. We are like on our socials.
Yeah. I'm on your Instagram right now. I'm having a quick look. What I like is obviously you're talking about skin, which is easy. You can talk about skin, but also you're promoting your staff and what happens behind the scenes and what does your clinic look like. These are the things that I think patients want to know. They don't just want to know who's injecting me, but what is this sort of place? Is it nice? Is it clean? Where is it? What, who are they? So I think that sort of stuff probably people aren't leaning into enough. So you're doing a good job, even though you think you're not.
Yeah. I think you raised a good point, Jill, around community. And I think that think about who's your audience. Like I think a lot of people just follow what everyone else is doing and they do the same kind of posts without really thinking around who are they trying to talk to and are the people that I want to talk to actually going to see what I'm putting up. And because there's so much more competition, I think getting back into your local community, really getting back to those basics or old school kind of marketing strategies, which is who's in your local community, what businesses can you form collaborations with, are there local charities, business groups, events that are happening that you can become part of. You don't need the whole of Australia or the whole world to know who you are and what you do. There's only so many patients you can see in a day or a week. And so just getting back to your local community, you don't have to have 100,000 followers. It's about having enough people, quality people that are actually committed to your business and spreading the good word. So I think it's just about going back to the first principles thinking and what is it you're trying to achieve and where are the people that you're trying to talk to. Before we kind of wrap things up, it would be good to get some parting thoughts from both of you in terms of now that you've had such great success and in very different ways, very different journeys and very different businesses. What would you do differently or what advice would you give to yourself if you were to start this journey again?
Okay, what would I do different? Look, I think it's all a learning curve. We're going to make mistakes. So them mistakes, what I have probably made a lot of, I've learned from them, I've grew from them. So would I change anything? Probably not. And that's me being honest, because at the end of the day, I'm growing as well as the business. Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Telisa, tell us, what would you do differently?
Okay, I'm taking a deep breath. What would I do differently? Look, when you guys started talking about the community, that was actually one of my first port of calls, is being involved in my community. But it became, and I still am, I still do the fundraisers and things like that, still a big supporter of even just a $50 donation to the local soccer club. What would I do different? Gosh, I think my list is pretty long. As I said, I think I grew super quick, not only within the injectables clinics space locally, but also on a more national level and even international level, just super quick. But I would have been silly to not run with it. But at the same time, by doing that, I was trying to balance all these different job opportunities. And it's who's Telisa, who's the Injectables queen, what's going on with your clinics, where are you going now, what are you doing? It's always chasing that next dream for me. What I would do differently is have a plan, which I'm still currently forming. So I've had a plan and I've had to go back and redo that plan because that plan didn't work out. So there's just a lot of things that I would do differently. But also at the same time, the things that I've done, I've learned from. Utilizing what I've done and being able to share with other injectors what I've done wrong, that has made me not fail, but take me a few steps back and be quite humbled as well. I do share that with other injectors, and I think that's really important because a lot of people tend to find themselves wrapped up in their own world and just be like, oh, gosh, what's happening now? What do we have to worry about now? And they make these irrational decisions that are quite quick off the mark as soon as they hear an Instagram post. Or my advice would be to keep up with the guidelines and keep up with what's happening InstantCosmetics do actually offer that as well, but also reading the guidelines for yourself and understanding them. And if you can't understand them, then outsource the people to understand them and to for you, so that you can actually implement what you need to within your workspace.
Yeah.
Not just go off word of mouth, not just go off what people are saying on Instagram. I think there's been too much of that, to be quite honest. I think we've posted too much about what's going on in our world right now politically, and I think it's scaring our patients, because I've had people come in and they're like, what's the TGA? So I think that we need to be more united, and I think we need to be less panicky. Don't panic and make irrational decisions if something else is going on in another state, or if there's a new guideline being mandated or what have you. Go back to your prescriber, go back to whoever you need to, even a legal team, whatever you need to do. Because again, there's that variability. There's boutique businesses and there's people with staff like myself and Jill. So who needs to probably be a little bit more aware of our surroundings.
Cool. I'm going to ask David's favorite final question. Exit strategy. Most people, including myself, probably don't have a clear one, but have you guys thought about where this is going, where it's going to end? You're going to sell? You're going to, I don't know, what are you going to do? You're going to retire and just live happily ever after? We'll start with Jill.
I actually haven't, because I'm very happy what I'm doing at the moment. I know what's going on at the minute. You think, oh my word, there might have to be, but at the minute I haven't. I love what I do. I don't want to be leaving or getting out anywhere soon. So I haven't at the moment. I haven't got that plan. It will be coming soon, well later down the line, but nothing yet.
Okay. Telisa, you've got lots of staff and 2 clinics and probably property involved with that. So what's your plan?
What's my plan? So my plan is planning at the moment. I'm trying to plan what's next. There's a lot of things
tomorrow, let alone
on.
5 or 10 years. Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on up here, and I've just got to figure it out. But in terms of the clinical side of things, I don't intend to sell, but I did invest in a business advisor, not a business coach. There's so many different people that you can invest in, but invest in the right people. And I know you guys do this, go around and you give people business advice. I think investing in the right people to help you move forward, so that if you do want an exit strategy, you can't just sell up. You've got to build up to that exit if you want an exit, because if you don't take care of your finances, the back end of your finances, and know exactly what's going on, and you just one day want to pull up and sell, you're going to absolutely be paying a lot of tax and things like that. Look, I don't want to dive any deeper because maybe everyone's not quite there. But yeah, there's a lot involved in having an exit strategy. And if you do have one, if you want one, you should definitely plan on starting it now. I don't have an exit strategy at this point in time because I'm not going to panic. And I have got reinforcements for now, including InstantCosmetics. I just don't want to panic. I'm not going to push the panic button.
Yeah.
Not right now. What's my oyster?
Yeah. I think in terms of exit strategy, I definitely, when I ask people that question, it's not about exiting right now in light of what's going on with regulations. It's more about when you've decided you've had enough one day. How do you leave what you're doing now and move on to the next chapter of your life? There's only really a few ways to do it that I can think of. The first one is that you just close your doors and you disappear into the sunset and just be happy with the money that you made during your time there. And particularly if you've got a business that's branded around you and your name, it can be difficult to sell that to someone else because a lot of that value is goodwill associated with you as a person. And the other option is to, if you built up a brand that has independent success of you, it's not branded to you, you've got less than 20 or 30% of the revenue being generated by other members of your team, that starts to become a less risky, more valuable asset to a potential purchaser that doesn't potentially have to be a medical professional. And then the third way would be like some sort of succession planning where, even if you've got the business branded to you specifically, you actually start to bring on the people in your team who may want to become partners, whom eventually might want to take over. So you start to diminish your equity in the business over time. Maybe you start with a profit share, then you move to an equity transition. And then you slowly do that over time and you can phase that out. So those are the kind of three ways that I think of. And a lot of people don't think about this because sometimes these exit plans can take many years to come to fruition to find the right people. And as you alluded to, Telisa, plans change all the time, but you need to have a plan because you can't, otherwise you're just wandering through the desert and you're never going to find your way out. So at least have a plan to get to a destination. If that destination changes, that's cool, but at least start thinking about it because eventually, I talk to people all the time about this, and whether you're a plastic surgeon, dermatologist, cosmetic nurse, eventually that day comes, something might happen with your health, circumstances may change, and you spend a lot of time building up this asset. You don't just want to just walk away and leave all that value on the table. So I guess that was the question that you were asking. So maybe just something to think about, that you're definitely in the majority of people that haven't gone down that thought process yet, but maybe hopefully us just unpacking that now might get you thinking about it, and our listeners as well.
No, we've definitely thought about everything that you have just said. We've been advised on in terms of private equity and things like that. That is something that we've looked into, and also investors and knowing the difference as well. So that's definitely something that we've looked into. And I think that's probably going to be what's going to be necessary moving forward in the future with everything that's going on right now. And also there's a lot of involved once you start getting that private equity or that investing as well. There's other things that come along with it. If you have business partners, I didn't know that you had to have things like life insurance on one another just in case one person, as you said, might not be here tomorrow. So then what's going to happen to your partners? Then you have to have that plan in place. I know it sounds horrible, but you do. You have to have that life insurance on that business partner, so then you can have their shares of the business. So yes, you can dive deep with that stuff, but I didn't dive deep. But yes, there is a plan there, and I don't know how deep you wanted me to dive. But yes, I've learned that along the way.
Fantastic. Thank you both for being generous, not just with your time, but being vulnerable about some of the things that didn't go so well. It's always really useful for our listeners to learn and just hear from people going through probably the same experience. No one's perfect.
No.
But yeah, exactly. But no, joking aside, we've all gone through that. And thank you again to our sponsors, InstantCosmetics, for finding you two as good guests who are going to share your experiences. And hopefully we'll get to catch up in real life, and hopefully the regulations will calm down and we'll all, like I said, live happily ever after and just do what we want to do and just look after our patients. Any final words from you guys?
Look, I think for me, to everyone listening, injectors specifically, try not to be too worried and turn to people like InstantCosmetics and even Inside Aesthetics. Start listening, join associations and become more aware and become united so that you can know what's happening and know what next steps you need to take, so that you're not frightened that you're going to lose everything that you've invested the entirety of your being into. And that doesn't necessarily mean, because some people are thinking all doom and gloom, oh my gosh, this is going to come and we're going to have to shut and we're going to have to shut up shop. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that you might have to look at things a little bit differently and start being a little bit more open-minded about where your business plan is headed and getting the right advice from the right people. Obviously, you guys know at Inside Aesthetics what you're doing in terms of business. Just looking in the right places and not giving up. Don't give up. Let's just remain calm and see where to, but also start planning.
100%. Anything from you, Jill, before we leave?
I'm all about not hearing the noise. I know there's a lot of noise going out at the minute, and not to do that. Just keep yourself focused on yourself, keep yourself in your own lane, and just be positive.
Fantastic. Thank you for plugging our Patreon, Telisa, and saying be part of our community. It really has been quite useful, not just here in Australia, but America. There's lots of stuff going on in the Texas regulations, UK, like I mentioned. So this is not unique to just Australia. We're all going through various regulatory challenges, and it's good to support each other and learn from each other.
Totally.
Great.
It was an honest plug. It wasn't a paid plug.
That's awesome.
I've always been good to be members of associations and things like that. To be honest, in the last year, I haven't really had much time to sign up for things and things like that, but I've always been a member of associations because I think that's really important. But also, as Jill said, having tunnel vision is really important as well. But you need to be surrounded by a good community And we need to start being a little bit more of a supportive community. And that's where maybe InstantCosmetics comes in and starts giving us advice under an umbrella. But also, again, I can't stress any more to you guys. I really think it's important that when these guidelines and mandates come out, you need to read them for yourselves and not just rely on what someone says on Instagram, unless they are a reliable person who's thoroughly gone through the guidelines and interpreted them and are able to articulate them to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time again, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For our latest news, follow us on Instagram at Inside Aesthetics Podcast. If you want to get in touch with myself or David, follow us on Instagram as well at Dr. Jake Sloan and David_Inside Aesthetics.
Join our Patreon for invaluable business and injectable education. Get access to our global community of like-minded professionals, live and interactive Zoom sessions, hints and tip videos, webinars, and more. Head over to www.insideaesthetics.com/Patreon for more information.